It's always showtime at BetMGM Sports. You can make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 when you sign up with the code SHERDOG. Don't let another game day go by without having the ultimate sports betting app in the palm of your hand. Discover non-stop excitement with BetMGM's state-of-the-art technology and dozens of betting options, including live wagers, props, parlays, and much more. No matter what your favourite sport is or how you like to wager, find out why there's nothing like getting a W at the King of Sportsbooks. Use the code SHERDOG and make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Arizona, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days from issuance. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Louisiana, Nevada, Wyoming, and Virginia. Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. In Michigan, 1-800-GAMBLER. In Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Tennessee, call the Red Line at 800-889-9789. In Mississippi, call 1-888-777-9696. Sports betting is void where prohibited. Promotional offers not available in Nevada. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today we're going to look ahead to the third PFL event for 2022. And this is the best one yet. Some of their biggest stars, arguably all of their biggest stars nearly, return on this card. We're going to see Kayla Harrison and the women's lightweight division return. We're going to see Ray Cooper. We're going to see Anthony Pettis. We're going to see Rory MacDonald as well. So it's a big night for the PFL. If you haven't seen my review of last week's card, please check that out up on Sherdog.com as well, and on our YouTube and Spotify and wherever you get podcasts, you can listen to it there. But I always kind of start off to look ahead to next week with the look back kind of at last week and the production and the card all around it. As I mentioned in that, I think it had kind of much improved. The production I thought was a lot better. The commentary, I'm a big fan of it. Even their stats and things like that, they do make it a little bit different. We had obviously Brendan Loughnane getting a little bit lucky, I suppose, after that big knockdown in the fight ended via no contest in the third round. So not a no contest, it went to a technical decision because it was, the third round, no contesty type of thing. The right decision. I don't think it was a robbery or anything like that, but after his opponent knocked him down hard, Bruno Capoloza then won in the main event. Henan Fahea looked good as well. That heavyweight division is really lighting up. So a pretty good start, honestly, to the PFL season. We saw Chris Wade as well beating Lance Palmer. Bubba Jenkins got a good win but didn't come out unscathed. There was talks of Brendan Loughnane having an injury as well. I know his manager Malky Kawa tweeted that out. So a very interesting card coming out of that, and a very interesting one to start off with here as well. I'm going to start off with the women's lightweights, and obviously Kayla Harrison is the big story there, but there are some other fights in that division as well. Starting off the card, the 3 of the first 4 fights are all in the women's lightweight division in the tournament. Vanessa Melo is taking on Martina Jindrova. Watching a bit of Jindrova, she's a good striker with not the best takedown defense in the world throughout her 6 fights, but I think she has improved a little bit. Watching her last fight, she was able to stop the takedowns a couple of times in her PFL debut back in March of this year even, so not too long ago. in the Challenger Series even, against Jacqueline Calvacante. That fight is up on YouTube for anyone who hasn't watched it. She was able to stop the takedowns there, and she did a very, very good job of winning that one. Vanessa Melo, we've seen her in the UFC for a good while. She beat Sarah Morash last time out after 3 losses in a row, so it'll be interesting here. The one thing I think she might have a difficulty with is the size. I think she is, I think she's a faster, quicker, better all-around striker. I think that'll be a good stand-up battle there. That one, it should be fun. Like, if Jindrova even can use her size against Melo, she could have the better of it, but I think Melo's a classier, better fighter. The second fight tonight, Helena Kolesnyk against Abigail Montes. Everyone know Abigail Montes from beating Claressa Shields. I watched a good bit of her before that, and obviously looking back at it again before this fight, she's a very good fighter. I think she's a very good prospect now at 3-0. I think, look, with a lot of the women in the 155-pound division, they're blown up to that division for Claressa Shields and for Kayla Harrison as well. I think she might be a little bit undersized. I think that might be her issue here as well. Kolesnyk, she's not the best fighter in the world, honestly. She's a southpaw. She's very game. She hits hard. Doesn't have the best takedown defense in the world. Is a survivor. She's tough as hell, and she can survive when the fight hits the ground. But I think, look, Montes showed in her last fight against Claressa Shields that she's smart and she does what she needs to do. And I think if she's smart and she does what she needs to do against Kolesnyk, it will be taking her to the ground and winning the fight there. Although I wouldn't rule her out winning the defeat either. Watching a couple of Kolesnyk's fight, everyone's kind of talking about, oh, she's this great striker and everything like that. I don't see it. She's 5-4. She does hit hard without a shadow of a doubt, and the southpaw is always tricky. But I would favour Abigail Montes in a big way in that. Then we've Larissa Pacheco, who was the finalist who went in against Kayla Harrison back in 2019. And she has probably been arguably the second best women's fighter in PFL throughout the last couple of years. She's fighting Zamagul Faisalunova. That's easy for me to say. I went back and watched some of her fights though, Zamagul. She's very good. I like her. I like her style. She's a fast striker. She's good takedown defense as well. And she's one of these fighters that I think, she's been fighting on a very tough scene. Getting very, very tough fights as well. She fought over in FNG a couple of times as well. Coming out of Kazakhstan, and I from the bits I've seen of her, there aren't many fights. She hasn't fought in many big promotions. There's only a couple of clips on YouTube, but I do like what I see now. Pacheco is going to be a very, very tough matchup for her, but it'll be interesting to see how well she can do in the tournament and how well she can do in her opening bout of that tournament as well. And while we're at it, let's talk about Kayla Harrison and Martina Mokhnatkina. Marina even. Marina is a good fighter. I watched a bit of her. Obviously, they introduced her as a sambo fighter and things. And look, she has good takedowns. She's strong in the clinch. She can hit hard as well. I wouldn't say she has the most amazing striking in the world, but she's a good all-around fighter. Very, 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 very hard to see her matching up well against Kayla Harrison. Kayla, I think, is just too much in all areas. Even I think she could win this even as a striker match, honestly. But Marina, when you watch some of her fights, she's very good at tripping people and has a kind of good base in the clinch. So maybe Kayla will have a bit of an issue there, but I don't think she'll have too much of an issue because we know how good she is there. She's absolutely awesome. Was it a 2-time Olympic champion judoka? I don't think Marina's going to be stopping her there, even though that is probably her strongest point in her game. So you would love to see a bit of a fight here for Kayla. You would love to see her maybe, get challenged a little bit. Hard to see it though. Very, very hard to see it. While we're on Kayla Harrison, let's talk a little bit about her and her decision. And I suppose this is one of the most talked about decisions in MMA in a long time. We talked about it here on different shows and at different times. And it just feels like with the tournament starting off now and looking down through the range of people we have on it, and obviously I'll get to Julia Budd as well. I didn't mean to run that past that fight, and I will get to that in a second. But apart from Julia Budd, it just feels like there really isn't anyone in that division who was going to trouble her. And we went through this. They did a great promo last week, talking about Kayla Harrison and about all the talk, and now she's back in PFL. It just feels a little bit like, okay, we're falling back into this again, where we have one of the best fighters in the world, without a shadow of a doubt, is up against people who are not going to challenge her, maybe Julia Budd aside. And that's sad to see. Like, MMA at its core is about testing people to see who's the best. And it feels like Kayla Harrison is at a place now in her career where she is not going to get any test. We'll see about Julia Budd, but very, very, very minimal testing of her ability. And that's a very sad thing to see. That said, whether it's her or whether it's, any fighter in the world who's great. And look, the decision was made. I think Amanda Nunes losing that fight to Juliana Pena didn't go into tough was a big issue. There was talks of it being a multi-year deal as well, which to me is absolutely senseless, when you could sign for 1 year and then you could do this all over again next year. Let's say if Amanda Nunes is back as the champion, if she beats Juliana Pena in the rematch, then that massive fight is just back together again. Or, the Cyborg fight. Maybe Cyborg comes over to PFL. I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't know, like Cyborg, if she went into this tournament, she'd walk through everyone as well and probably meet, being her in the final. And, 155 I don't think would be much of an issue for Cyborg, but it just feels, look, I'll always tune in for Kayla Harrison. I think she's hilarious as a person, as a character, a brilliant, brilliant fighter, but it's a bit, there seems to be very little hope there. Now, the one bit of hope, I said is Julia Budd. And she's a very, very good fighter. She has fought some of the best in the world, and she's taken on Genah Fabian here, who was around last year as well. Like, Fabian is a good southpaw kickboxer, can cause some problems. She's long and she's good on the outside, throws those lovely body kicks right down through the middle. So she's a good fighter, but you would expect Julia Budd to do enough, that walking forward style with her lovely jab and things. Although her fight against Caitlin Young was not her best performance, I think. I think Caitlin actually did pretty well, but, before that she had a great run in Bellator, winning almost all of her fights apart from Chris Cyborg. In fact, she did win all of her fights apart from Chris Cyborg. Beat Arlene Blinkow, who had a great performance against Chris last week. She beat her twice. She beat Marloes Kuhn and Olga Rubin and others as well. her only losses in her career, Nunes, Rousey and Cyborg. And that is crazy. Like, it could be Nunes, Cyborg, Rousey and Harrison here by the end of the year. But if she goes in there and beats Harrison, it's a very different look to her career, and it's a very different look to Harrison's career as well, because then things change an awful lot. But look, Julia Budd is definitely someone who can put it to Kayla Harrison. That won't be an easy fight, and if it is, we know how good Kayla Harrison is. She went 4 rounds with Chris Cyborg, did Julia Budd, and she can put it to her. So that's the one bit of hope, and that's the one bit of excitement for this tournament. Like, I think you watch a lot of these Bellator tournaments, PFL tournaments, and you kind of get excited as you're watching them. Like Kenan Fahey last week, Bruno Capiloza, you watch them and you're thinking, oh, cool. What about maybe a rematch in the Brendan Loughnane fight, or Loughnane versus Wade, and different fights, and you get excited about them. There's very few for Kayla Harrison, and I think that one against Julia Budd is one that we can get excited for, in terms of like, will she answer some questions and that, and I'd be very interested to see if she can. The men's lightweight and welterweight divisions are also kicking off, or have fights here as well. Interesting fight on the undercard here on Sherdog.com. Gleison Tibau against Jarrah Al-Silawi. I went back and watched a bit of Al-Silawi. He's been around for a long time. Fought in those Cage Warriors cards back in 2013, 2014, out in Jordan, where he's from. I was talking to someone about it actually, and they was kind of saying he was doing really well on their kind of the amateur scene out there. And he came in and he had a tough time to start his career, but 17-3 now. This guy's is a good fighter. He's good takedowns. He's kind of turned from like a southpaw kickboxer to like a heavy takedown artist who throws these wild kicks. Fighting Gleison Tibau is going to be very hard to take him down, you know. Gleison is the only guy, I think, to stop Habib Nurmagomedov taking him down. So we know how good his takedown defense is. He had a good season last year as well in the PFL. You know, beating Rory MacDonald, beating Micah Terrell as well. You know, the Rory MacDonald one obviously very, very close. And, you know, okay, he lost to Joao Zeferino, but a couple of fights, but before that, outside of the big leagues, I suppose, he beat Will Brooks and Efrain Escudero as well to kind of to keep his career going. And it's a big opportunity here for Al-Silawi to take on someone with a name like Tibau. But a tough fight as well at the same time. So we'll see how that goes for him. I think it's a smart move though by the PFL. You know, they're signing people from different parts of the world, and you know, it started obviously as World Series of Fighting, and I think they are becoming a more worldwide promotion now. You know, by having people, and we'll talk about Myles Price in a second as well, obviously from here in Ireland. But I think Al-Silawi will be a good addition to that division, and I'm looking forward to seeing him fighting Gleison Tibau. Also in the welterweight division, a rematch. Sadibou Sai is taking on Nikolay Aleksakhin. That first fight ended in a no contest due to an eye poke. And look, it's one of those fights where Sai is this big, long, tall guy. And Nikolay is not, I wouldn't say he's short, but he's shorter than Sai. Both really athletic, fast. Sai throwing that front kick right up through the middle to try to keep the distance, where Nikolay in that first fight was kind of beating inside, throwing his feints, throwing his shots to the body to try to get inside, and did a great job of it for long periods. Although Sai, you know, it was a very close fight. It was very close. He did a good job. Sai did a good job as well. I'm looking forward to the rematch, and we'll see how it goes. I think this will be another, you know, it'll probably be 3 rounds of kickboxing and probably be very, very close. Another fight I'm really looking forward to, Magomedkerimov against Joao Zeferino. Zeferino, look, he's one of these guys, he loves to get the fight to the ground, always ends up in 50-50 position, but has a big right hand as well. And, you know, he is a finisher. In his 26 fights, 21 have finished inside the distance with 17 submissions. You know, the sort of people he's beaten, I mentioned he beat Gleison Tibau, he's beaten the likes of Jason High as well, and, you know, others down through the years. He's been around for a good while now, and, you know, maybe he hasn't those big names on his record, but there are a few of them in this division, and if he does beat them, he'll be very interesting. Now, Magomedkerimov, I suppose for himself, had a disappointing year last year, losing to Ray Cooper in the final. He beat Sai, as I just mentioned, as well as Curtis Melinder, and he beat Chris Curtis a couple of times as well back in 2019. You know, some very good wins. He's beaten Ray Cooper back in the day as well. He's beaten John Howard and Bojan Veleshkovic, and some very, very good wins, you know. I would favour him here, I think. Look, he's mostly a takedown artist, although he can fight in the video. Well, it's harsh to say because he throws that big head kick. And he's good, but when you get knocked out by Ray Cooper the way he does, it's probably like, well, go back to your wrestling. But no, I shouldn't say he is a very good takedown artist, but he's very good on the feet as well. And I think he'd probably try to keep it there against Zeferino, because if he is taking him down all the time, Zeferino has those submissions and you're putting yourself into danger. But he has that big right hand as well, so I wouldn't rule either guy out in either place. But I think Magomedkerimov is one of the best fighters in the world, but one of the best fighters in PFL anyway, and I think he will win that one. But I would love to see it go to the ground and see how it gets on there. If Zeferino, I have a bad neck here, if he can get a couple of good positions against Magomed, he could cause him a few problems. On the other two welterweight fights then on the card, Ray Cooper III is fighting Magomed Umalatov, and Rory MacDonald is fighting Brett Cooper. On Ray Cooper first, obviously the couple of times champion now, got in there against Magomed Umalatov. It's a tough fight, you know. Umalatov is a very good guy. He can wrestle and strike. You know, watching some of his fights, it's funny. He fought in this one fight where he knocked the guy down, It was in this tiny cage, and the referee like counted and got him back up, and he was wearing like UFC gloves and UFC shorts and everything. It's a bizarre fight, but a lot of his fights under weird rules and things. But look, you see the name Magomedkerimov and you're probably thinking he's a good wrestler, and you would be right to think that, to be fair. But he can strike as well. He's a nice straight right down the middle, and he can hurt people with it. I would say like he reminds me a little bit of Magomedkerimov, maybe not with the big high kick, but he can strike, but a lot of his striking leads to his wrestling. We've seen Ray Cooper though over the last few years that, you know, sometimes wrestlers come in and go, I'm going to take this guy down, and then Ray Cooper hits him with a big right hand down through the middle, and they very, very quickly realise, well, I'm unconscious and I can't take him down. So that's a problem. Ray Cooper's such a brilliant, well-rounded fighter. I'm looking forward to see how this fight goes, because I think a lot of Umalatov, after watching him back, he's a very, very good fighter, and it's a very tough matchup for him, but it's a tough matchup for Ray Cooper as well. It's not like, you know, he goes through all these years and through all these tournaments unscathed. You know, he has lost to Magomedkerimov back in the day. He has lost to John Howard and a few more as well. Obviously went to a draw with Sadibou back in 2019, but that was the last time he didn't win. You know, he's beaten Curtis, Misho, Pone, Al-Silawi, as I mentioned earlier, Rory MacDonald and Magomedkerimov since then. So, you know, it's been a great run for Ray Cooper, and he should probably be the favourite here, but it's not one I don't think it'll be a blowout. I definitely don't think it'll be a blowout, but looking forward to seeing that one here. And look, Rory MacDonald, what a massive year it is for Rory MacDonald in the PFL. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought he would go in there and blow everyone away and win it, you know, after losing to Douglas Thema for the title in Bellator back in 2019. He came in, had over a year out of the cage, fought and beat Curtis Melinder, choked him out, and everyone was saying, okay, he's going to run through everyone here. But then that very close decision with Gleison Tibau, you know, a lot of people calling it a robbery, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with him, and then went in there and lost unanimously to Ray Cooper. It's a massive, massive year and a massive opportunity here for Rory MacDonald. Brett Cooper, look, he probably got the easiest side of the draw here, I won't lie, but and that's nothing against Brett Cooper. This guy has been fighting some absolute beasts. I was watching some of his recent fights, you know, fighting over in Russia and fighting in ACA and different places. This guy is fighting lads with 30 and 40 fights who you've probably never heard of, and, you know, going 3 rounds or getting beaten or getting knocked out with, you know, I watch a few of these fights from recent times. You know, obviously he fought in Bellator down through the years for a long time and fought, you know, some of their best guys like Shlemenko and, you know, Brendan Halsey and you know, Norman Paresi and all, and he's been around for years and years and years and years, and he's tough as hell. But like, he's one of those guys that I think, and I think most people think, Rory MacDonald should deal with pretty easily. But also, if Rory MacDonald isn't on it, Brett Cooper will be right there, and he'll put him to the pin of his collar. He really will. And look, Rory has to be on it here, and he needs to win this fight comfortably, and I think he probably will. But it's a massive year for Rory MacDonald. That $1 million is on the line, obviously, and I think that's the reason he went over to PFL. So I'll be interested to see how he does it. It's funny with Rory as well. We still look at him as like this young guy coming through, and he's 32 now, and you know, he's 30 fights behind him as well, and a lot of them against some of the biggest and best competition in the world. So, you know, how long can you keep going? It's not about age really. It's about miles on the clock and fights you've had. So Rory has had a lot of fights, and we'll see where it goes for Rory after this. And the fight I'm most excited about, you know, being an Irish man, is Anthony Pettis versus Myles Price. Is there anything else I've forgotten on the card? No, I think I got to everything. So Anthony Pettis versus Myles Price. Very interesting fight for me. A lot of people are probably thinking, look, Myles Price, he hasn't fought in a very, very long time. You know, he hasn't fought since he beat Peter Queally back in 2019, which I suppose isn't odd, considering what's happened in those couple of years with the coronavirus and everything like that. And you know, even before that, he wasn't fighting too regularly. He fought twice in 2018 and once in 2016, once in 2015, and it was 2013 before that. So it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights in the last 9 years for Myles Price, which is crazy when you think of it. Now, anyone who kind of knows Myles has been kind of keeping up with him, before that Peter Queally fight, he went away. Like Myles has been known as a striker around Ireland, and he's a very good striker. But he went away to AKA, trained a lot with Habib, and what's the guy's name? I can't remember. He fought in Bellator a couple of weeks ago. He won a very, very good wrestler. Name just won't come to me now. And he came back and he destroyed Peter Queally with wrestling. He took him down over and over. Now, destroyed him is wrong, but he used his wrestling very, very well. It was a split decision, in fact, but I think most people had it for Myles Price, and he looked really, really good as a wrestler. When you look at someone like Anthony Pettis, if he can put on a similar sort of game and take him down over and over and over and push him against the cage, Myles Price will probably win that fight, honestly, but it's very difficult to know if he's still at that level. The fact he's been out of the cage now for it's 3 years. It's over 3 years. It's funny to think 2019 seems like a week ago, but it's 3 years now. I know he's been over in Germany training. He's been training obviously in Team Rhino as well, with the likes of Paul Redmond and Dean Barry, who made his UFC debut, and others as well. James Sheehan, who's doing great things in that gym too. And it'll be interesting to see here. For Pettis, look, it's another big opportunity, similar to Rory MacDonald. PFL signed all these big name fighters last year, and none of them really did great. And he lost to Haush Mafiu, lost to Clay Collard in his 2 PFL fights, so he'll be wanting to get a win here. And I'm sure he'll be looking at Myles Price and thinking, look, if I can stop that takedown, turn it into a kickboxing match, I should win that fight. Although Myles is a good kickboxer as well, but you'd have to favour Pettis, I think, in that matchup, if he does keep it there. And it's a big, big, massive fight for him and for the PFL as well. Because last year, the PFL, the finals and everything, and I remember talking about it here at the time and kind of saying they need to do something here because their big stars are not getting to the finals. And we're at a position where, there's people maybe won't tune in because it's like, okay, Kayla Harrison's fighting and maybe you've Ray Cooper, everyone likes to see, but like, where's Rory? Where's Verdum? Where's Pettis? Where's Tibau even? It's a big night for PFL. I'm sure they'll be hoping MacDonald wins. I'm sure they'll be hoping Pettis wins. I know Cooper and Price and a few others will have will have a different opinion on that. But I'm looking forward to this. Those people obviously seeing the women's lightweight tournament kick off, Julia Budd in that big fight against Fabian, and obviously the main event, Kayla Harrison as well. So yeah, all in all, I think it's a very good card. It's probably apart from the finals, it's probably the best card the PFL will put on this year, in my opinion. But we'll see. The others haven't been written. PFL do usually put on some good cards because they have some big names now and people we want to see, so I wouldn't rule it out at all. But yeah, I will leave it there. I hope you all enjoyed the fights this weekend. My name is Sean Sheehan for ShareDog.com, and I'll see you all next time.